Cuba is often celebrated for its vibrant culture, stunning beaches, and warm-hearted people. However, beneath the surface of this picturesque island lies a complex reality shaped by challenges, restrictions, and systemic issues. Let's dive into some of the lesser-known aspects of Cuban life. 1. Limited internet. Cuba's internet access is one of the most restricted in the world, costly and controlled. Cubans must purchase expensive Wi-Fi cards, usable only in designated public areas like parks or select hotel zones. Slow and censored. Internet speeds are frustratingly slow, and access to certain sites or information is restricted. Purposeful limitation. These measures help the government regulate information flow, curbing exposure to global perspectives and maintaining control over narratives. 2. State-controlled media and propaganda. Media in Cuba serves as a tool for government propaganda, creating a curated reality for its citizens. Dominance of the revolution. National television channels and newspapers often glorify revolutionary figures like Fidel Castro and Che Guevara, while omitting criticism or alternative viewpoints. Censorship of dissent. Independent journalism is virtually non-existent, with strict penalties for expressing opposition or questioning the government's narrative. Restricted choice. The control over all forms of media limits Cubans' access to diverse viewpoints, ensuring the government maintains ideological control. 3. Collapsing infrastructure. While Havana's historic buildings and colonial charm are iconic, many structures are in a state of severe disrepair. Dangerous conditions, cracked walls, leaky roofs, and collapsing buildings pose significant safety risks to residents. Limited resources. The U.S. embargo and economic difficulties limit access to construction materials. Many Cubans resort to the black market using subpar materials that worsen the problem. Frozen in time. Some neighborhoods appear stuck in a state of decay, a visual reminder of the island's prolonged economic struggles. 4. Dual currency system. Cuba's dual currency system creates a stark divide between residents and tourists. Two currencies. Cubans use the Cuban peso, cup, while tourists traditionally use the now phased-out convertible peso, pegged to the US dollar. While the system has been unified, the remnants of inequality persist. Economic disparity. Tourists often pay inflated prices for goods and services, leaving locals struggling with wages that don't match their cost of living. Social divide. The system fosters economic inequality, with tourists enjoying luxuries unavailable to most Cubans. 5. Rampant scams. Targeting tourists. Tourists in Cuba often fall victim to scams driven by the significant income gap between visitors and locals. Inflated prices, taxi fares, restaurant bills, and souvenirs are often priced exorbitantly higher for tourists. Common schemes. Overcharging, misleading offers, and counterfeit goods are frequent. For locals, even a single successful scam can significantly supplement their income. Avoiding scams. Tourists should verify prices beforehand, use official services, and exercise caution in cash transactions. Navigating Cuba's complex reality. Despite these challenges, understanding the socioeconomic struggles in Cuba offers a more authentic view of life on the island. It also highlights the resilience and resourcefulness of its people, who continue to preserve their culture and hospitality despite systemic hardships. By being aware and respectful of these realities, visitors can better appreciate Cuba's beauty while supporting its local communities ethically. 6. Severe food rationing. Since 1959, Cuba has relied on a rationing system, the libreta, to address food scarcity. Limited provisions. Cubans receive a monthly booklet entitling them to basic staples like rice, beans, and cooking oil. While the system ensures minimal sustenance, it often falls short of meeting nutritional needs. Reliance on black markets. Many Cubans turn to informal sellers to supplement their rations, often paying inflated prices for scarce goods, inconsistent supply. Quality and quantity of rations vary, reflecting deeper issues of food insecurity. What began as a temporary solution has become a permanent fixture of Cuban life. 7. Forced labor in the medical sector. Cuba's celebrated medical diplomacy has a controversial side that remains largely hidden: medical missions. Cuban doctors are sent abroad to provide healthcare in underserved regions, often under challenging conditions. Government control. A significant portion of the doctors' earnings is confiscated by the Cuban government, leaving them with meager pay despite their critical work. Limited autonomy. These professionals often have little say over their assignments or working environments, highlighting the exploitative nature of the program. While Cuba's global healthcare contributions are commendable, the personal sacrifices of its medical workers raise ethical concerns. 8. Harsh punishments for dissent. Cuba's strict control over political discourse has far-reaching consequences. Crackdown on critics. Individuals who challenge the government face intimidation, harassment, and imprisonment. Severe repercussions. Critics can be subjected to forced labor, physical harm, or extended periods of incarceration under harsh conditions. Silencing opposition. The regime employs strict measures to suppress demonstrations, independent journalism, and online dissent. The Cuban government's harsh stance on opposition underscores its intent to maintain tight control over its population. 9. Human trafficking and exploitation. While Cuba is celebrated for its lively culture, it faces a persistent and disturbing issue: vulnerability to trafficking. Economic hardship exacerbates the problem, leaving vulnerable individuals, especially women and children, at higher risk. Forms of exploitation. Traffickers often target those seeking better opportunities, coercing them into forced labor or sexual exploitation. Women are particularly at risk, frequently subjected to prostitution or grueling labor conditions. Challenges in combating the issue. Economic struggles. Limited job opportunities and financial insecurity make it difficult to address root causes. Weak enforcement. Despite some government efforts, insufficient resources and lack of robust law enforcement hinder progress. Human trafficking and exploitation reveal a hidden crisis that demands greater awareness and stronger international cooperation to protect the vulnerable. 10. Environmental degradation. Cuba's natural beauty masks a growing environmental crisis that impacts its ecosystems and residents. Soil erosion. Impact of agriculture. Unsustainable farming practices lead to soil degradation, reducing fertility, and affecting food production. Food security. Declining agricultural productivity worsens food scarcity, compounding the nation's economic challenges. Industrial pollution. Factories and power plants discharge harmful chemicals into air and waterways, endangering ecosystems and public health. Contaminated water sources threaten both biodiversity and human populations. Deforestation. Habitat loss. Clearing forests for agriculture and urban development destroys habitats and reduces biodiversity. Species at risk. Many species struggle to survive due to shrinking natural habitats. While Cuba's cultural richness and scenic landscapes are celebrated, addressing these environmental challenges is crucial for the well-being of its ecosystems and people.